Imagine Villa Park Stadium, Aston Villa's home ground, filled to its maximum capacity of around 42,788 seats. Now, picture every single spectator as the founder of their own SaaS company. That's roughly the same as the estimated number of software companies worldwide. Each seat, one business. But here's the surprising part. Fewer than 1% of them will ever reach 100 million ARR, the milestone investors call Centaur status. In fact, you're more likely to score against a Premier League keeper than to build a SaaS company that hits Centaur level. So how do the rare few actually make it? And what are their tactics? In this deep dive, we'll map out the winning strategies with insights from industry leaders. Let's break it down. Here's the bigger question. What separates the companies that stall from the ones that actually make it to 100 million ARR? Adelina, as a CMO at User-Centrics, you've seen the journey from 10 million to 100 million. First of all, what's that like? And what separates people from that make it to those that don't?
Very few companies do it. Like going from 10 to 100 million in ARR in euro, it's possible, but in what amount of time? And you can imagine that if you do it in a few years, that means that it's hypergrowth company, that a lot of things will make and break. From a marketing perspective, I think you need to be equipped with knowing that you need to combine different channels above 100 million. Then you run into like, what's the data, what's the attribution, like understanding what do you use for that, do you equip your team or you present it in the board and so on. And you as marketing team and as a leader for this team, you need to be the one kind of like adjusting all the parameters inside it and take decisions based on this. But when it comes to showing your performance outside and asking for more budgets and all these things, it's simply about performance. Okay, I'm bringing this revenue, I'm reaching these targets with this efficiency, like CAC payback and so on. And I think that's really important to kind of like know what should be decisions taken in your team and what you should present as performance outside and what decisions should be taken outside in the broader leadership team.
So, not every click counts equally. Scaling isn't just about tracking everything, it's also about making sure people actually remember you.
Brand is very important in the sense not of your logo colors and maybe some values, but really what do you stand for? I really think that the best companies that are known for something, they're known to stand for something, have a clear thing, and that's not just what your product does. That also needs to be very clear.
Is there any myths you've seen and things that people are putting too much emphasis on that actually maybe aren't as important as they think?
Oh, plenty. I will tackle, first of all, the boring topics. A lot of people run away from this. I think this is where you have a lot of key. Like, for example, data privacy. Years ago, marketers were running away from it. I think now they're moving from the back seat to the driving seat. And we see a lot of leverage that marketers that really tackled what we call privacy-led marketing and leverage this to build trust with their users, they're winning. Another thing is when you take B2B, thinking that, you're only talking to businesses and the kind of content and approach is usually quite dry. No, there are people behind this. B2B doesn't have to be boring. So there is a lot of this where you put like a lot of soul into everything that you do and don't take anything as like, this is just something to check some boxes.
So that's lesson number one. Scaling isn't just about spreadsheets. Is it brand trust?
The journey from 1 million to 100 million isn't really a straight line. So it's like a series of different transformations. And what worked at 1 million is speed and improvisation. And later it's something that becomes more chaos, keeping alignment internally and keeping also the customers entertained with what they are getting. So it's more focused on how do you align inside your company between teams as you're scaling, between systems and your goals. At the same time, also how to get aligned with the expectation of your customers.
So speed got you here, but structure keeps you growing.
True growth doesn't happen in silos, right? Teams need autonomy in how they're working, but also alignment. So you need to build the right structures to exactly do this and also how to accelerate faster growth. It's about how everybody learns together.
That move Eike mentioned, from speed-driven chaos to systems-driven alignment, is the central challenge. But systems are run by people. As you scale, the leadership playbook has to change just as fast. Your job is no longer to do the work, it's to create clarity for the people who you work alongside.
As you develop, that clarity for you becomes more complex, so you cannot possibly manage what you've been managing before, which means that at every step that you want to take further, you need to prepare your team to handle the previous thing so you can keep evolving. which means as a CMO, you're as good as your team is. The next leaders to help you on that journey, because you'll need to build a more and more complex strategy and execution, but still bring the clarity to your team and to your C-level peers. That C-level, it's your first team. And then it's like the team you manage, because without that alignment, you might get lost.
The difference between companies that stall and those that are able to scale is infrastructure. I think it's nice to do a comparison. You're essentially going from a family business, a small business, and scaling into a company. And what happens, if I take a PR specific example, is that you create bottlenecks if you don't expand your infrastructure. For example, in a lot of smaller startups and smaller ones that I've worked in that are under 100 people, you'll have a senior person, usually a co-founder or the CEO or someone who's very heavily involved in PR. Vetting messaging, they're available for opportunities, but they essentially are the last point of call for everything that goes out. And that works well when you're very small and nimble. But as you grow, that creates a bottleneck. And on the opposite side, I've seen it where a growing company has had an interview with someone like Forbes. That is a really big opportunity to build their reputations as an industry leader. And they miss it because their spokesperson is overexposed, they're tired, they can't get on the call. And so building out an infrastructure that allows you to grow, doesn't overexpose your leadership team, but also that you start saying no to smaller opportunities, allows you to go from that smaller startup stage into that bigger scale up stage, I guess. You can buy awareness, you can buy eyeballs, but you can't buy credibility. Obviously, you have to invest in building that credibility. But I think it is a phase that's really overlooked, especially probably in the last 10 years for the democratization of other marketing channels. It's kind of been set to the side. But if you think about it, when you start out, and I think this is obviously very easy to see in tech companies, but I think it exists in all industries. Your first customers are innovators and very early adopters. They are willing to take a risk on a product that has no reputation. The company has no credibility. But when you're trying to grow the company beyond that group, credibility becomes extremely important. Journalists are trying to find the industry leaders. And if you're not positioning yourself there, then you're kind of falling behind. Is to be ready for issues and crisis. The better prepared you are in advance, the better the relationships you have with key stakeholders, the better you're going to be able to handle your first one. And I think it happens to a lot of startups that everyone's very kind to you when you're at the $1 to $10 million range. But once you start getting closer to the $100 million range, people expect you to act like a serious company.
That's the final lesson. You can buy eyeballs, but you have to earn trust and respect. As Elyce says, it's about how you act under pressure. That's the reputation that compounds. So let's recap that playbook. It's not about shortcuts. First, you need a foundation of brand that goes beyond spreadsheets. Second, you have to survive the scale-up by turning chaos into clarity with systems and leadership. And third, you build an untouchable company with trust that you earn. So there it is, the 100 million truth. No growth hack is going to save you. It's your brand, it's your team, and it's your strategy that get you there. Everything else is just noise. But what about you? To get to the 100 million ARR, what's the hardest part to get right? Is it brand, leadership, or trust? Let me know in the comments. We'll be back very soon with marketing news, so hit subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.